And we are back with another episode of the Hockey Princess podcast. I am your host, the Hockey Princess. We have Chris, the old guy. Just
Yo.
as a reminder, make sure to hit that like and subscribe on either Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, however you watch or listen to us ramble on a weekly basis. Another reminder, folks, if you are attending a game this season, please wait for the whistle. Do not get up while the puck's in play. Just wait for a stoppage in play. And if you are sitting in section 330 and you hear some meatheads chanting pucks in play or wait for the whistle, guess what? You have run into your favorite podcasters.
Yeah, but see, our listeners wouldn't be doing that. So
No.
maybe they'll be sitting by us and then hear us, and then they'll come over and say
If
hello.
you hear it, it's us.
Hey, it's my woman. She's out walking the dog.
Nice.
Goodbye, my woman. Bye. Bye. Oh, she's left me.
All right, let's get into it. We really don't have much in the NHL world just because it's still the beginning of the season and not really at the point of wanting to talk about other teams yet because we still have our stuff to talk about.
Yeah, fair enough. It's things haven't really been settled yet.
Yeah.
You're still in that first 10 games where losers are winning and winners are losing, but that'll all square away later.
Or there's the Nashville Predators that are losers now, and I just hope that they continue.
They didn't. Mr. No goals. Let up. No goals. So he'll be ready.
All right. Well, then let's get into some prospects. We had some prospects do a very exciting weekend. All right, we got to get the cat to distract. Very exciting, especially up in the state of Minnesota. This past weekend, we had University of Minnesota play University of Minnesota Duluth. So you've got Oliver Moore, Sam Renzel playing Adam Guyon and Dominic James. For Oliver Moore, he got 3 assists and a goal this past weekend. Renzel with a goal and assist. Dominic James also had a goal and an assist this past weekend. Guyon was in net for both games. Guys, I know I'm really the only one that's paying attention to Adam Guyon being in net his first year. But if anyone decides to hop on the, oh my God, he's losing train, this is his freshman year. Give him time. I think no matter what he does this year, he's playing at a significantly higher competitive level, going from the USHL to the NCAA. Maybe even if his team isn't the most competitive, he's playing highly competitive college teams on a weekend basis. So win or lose, it's just going to be a very big growing experience for him this first year. But I really like to see that he is getting a decent amount of the starts so far at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, he's a young goaltender.
Yeah.
There's going to be ups and downsies and ups and downsies.
Right. And like we say on this show, what matters most is any sort of growth. I'm happy to see. So it should be interesting. We got Krusty's favorite, Sasha Boisvert, with a couple of assists this past weekend for University of North Dakota. One prospect that we don't talk about a ton because, like I said, the European leagues run quite a bit different than CHL and NCAA is your Yuri Felkman in the Swiss League with quite a few assists in only 12 games so far. So we love that. Sometimes I try to throw in our other European or Russian prospects because we don't have a ton of them, but doesn't mean that they're not there. We also have the Nick Lardis, the human highlight reel, as he's now been coined, with 2 goals. Every game, every highlight that I see more of this kid, I get more and more excited. I know he's still in juniors, but guys, last night's game was really depressing. So watching Nick Lardis score it's a glimmer of hope. Not a beacon of hope, a glimmer of hope.
Oh, well, maybe we'll call him the Glimmer. We'll see.
There we
but
go.
He's lard ass and he'll stay lard ass.
big weekend for the Erie Otters with Ty Henry getting 2 assists and then Misiak with a goal and an assist. And then to round it out, we've got Alex Ferran with the Sudbury Wolves with an assist this weekend. So all very exciting. Everybody's scoring. Everybody's assisting. It's great. Jumping over to Rockford, which was not so great. They lost, guys, by a lot, both times. I'm not even going to say that I was too excited to hop on the bandwagon because it was just 2 games. It was 2 games. I'm still believing in them, and it's fine. And, they're going to have growing pains. These are a lot of kids who are still learning not how to play hockey, but how to play hockey together. So it's going to take time. I'm not freaking out. Friday night's game was 6-3. Comesso was the net. Poor kid took all of those goals. Poor guy. Like we said with Guyon, Comesso's a little bit further ahead, but he's still a youngish goaltender. He's still going to have growing pains even at the AHL level. Him struggling in Rockford is not the end of the world. It's going to happen. Especially because all the guys in front of him are pretty babies. We did have 1 goal from Gut Punch, 1 from Austin Strand, and then to round it out, we got the NASCAR Friday night. Saturday, lost 5-2. Weeks was in net. We have a goal from Brandon Baddock and another goal from the NASCAR. Biggest issue that I didn't watch all of both of those games, but the biggest issue that I heard from other people who did watch both of those games is many a thing, but one of the biggest things is the shift after they score. They just fully let the foot off the gas pedal, which, sounds like Chicago a bit, but which that's even a bigger concern if both your AHL team and your NHL team doing the same thing and having the same issue. Sounds like some coaches should hold these players accountable if they're making the same mistakes.
Yeah, that is that's the same thing that goes on in the big league club. I am sure that will be addressed. You're a professional hockey player now, so at times it's not even about winning. At times it's about destroying. The objective is to rip out the other team's heart and hopefully have it still beating and stomp on it in the third period. That sounds extremely harsh, but that's the way teams play.
That's what Milwaukee literally did to us this weekend.
That's the way the Hawks used to play during their dynasty years. That's the way Tampa played. Any dynasty team, they didn't just like to win. They like to take a piece of soul. The kids will need to understand that. They'll also need to start figuring out how to play defense. They got a little bit of a gift that first game was easy and, blah.
You have a lot of energy.
It's the AHL, man.
Speaking of a gift, Artie the Party is headed to Rockford. It's been activated off of the injured reserve to Rockford, which to anyone freaking out about him being sent to Rockford, it's fine. He should not be playing in Chicago whatsoever. The whole foot thing came to light on what actually happened. He fractured his foot, kept skating. It bothered him a little bit, not really a ton. It wasn't until he got it checked out later then he was like, oh, it's broken. I love that. Not that it was broken, but I'm just going to keep skating. But now he's back.
Right. And, you can tell he is a kid from not that big of a hockey place because I'm sure he's been told any kind of pain whatsoever, you need to bring it to the staff's attention.
Yeah.
Then they will deal with it. Trust me, through a lot of just regular stuff, they're going to let you play.
Yeah.
But they're going to want to look at everything all the time. So Again, no harm, no foul. Interesting to see who he will be partnered with. So
Damascus, please.
I am hoping it's the EDM also. I do not need to see him and Core together. Core's got his own work to do.
I don't need to see them right away. I think they are a very interesting pair down the line, not right now. I need him with stability right now. And so, be it that EDM, be that Austin Strand, I'm fine with that, but I would like him to be with stability.
Yes. And I'm sure they have that figured out. And then hopefully, he gets going in another week or two. So, again, we're both big fans of his.
Big.
We both basically wanted him. I might have wanted the other guy a little bit more, but not really by much.
I mean, it was a win-win situation.
Yeah.
You get a solid defenseman, or you get a guy who can really score. You're not losing.
Nope. But yeah, hopefully Rockford figures a couple things out, because that's a lot of goals to be giving up. But it's a lot
this weekend against Manitoba. Manitoba doesn't have the best lineup right now, so maybe it'll be it. They're walking into a weekend of games that they should win. I don't have a real cause for concern after playing Milwaukee, just because even with Milwaukee not having Askarov anymore, their team is still good. So I don't think it's the end of the world. I think it's if we start losing to teams consistently that we at least should be competing against or should be winning, then it's a little concerning.
Yeah, and it's a lot of kids just starting out to figuring out what it's like to be a professional. And with part of that is, when you were in juniors, you were, one of the top 2 players on the ice.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the case now. You need to do other things, and you need to figure that out. And I'm sure they will too. We're both, I'm still stoked on the team.
Yeah.
So
I think you can be stoked on Rockford and understand that, like, it's not going to be perfect. They're still going to have their own growing pains. You have a lot of guys coming from a lot of different places with a lot of different playing styles that are also jumping into a higher league. It's going to take time. It's more exciting, but it's going to take time.
Yeah, and, you got a lot of partying to do, man. You're a bunch of kids out there for the weekend. You never know what goes on. Yeah, again, Rockford no different than any big club up in the NHL level. We discuss after 20 something, we'll start to get a feel.
Yeah.
Until then, it's a feeling out process that, hopefully everybody stays healthy for a little while.
Yeah. All right. We've got any other final Rockford thoughts, feelings?
No. I might end up watching more.
Fair enough. Well, now that you have the information on how to watch, for those who don't know, because Rockford is a team that you can easily watch, unlike some other teams. It is flowhockey.com. You can watch it online, or they do have an app if you choose to watch it on your phone or Roku. They do have a monthly package or a yearly package. I did the math. The yearly does save you a bit of money. It's intimidating at first, but it saves you a bit of money in the long run. You can watch the AHL, the ECHL, as well as a couple of other different leagues. So it's very accessible to watch. All right.
Wow, nice shot.
Hey, I'll keep making them the more I can't watch this team. Speaking of the team that we can't watch, let's get into it. We had some very exciting things and some very non-exciting things. Well, let's do the exciting things first. Guys, we had our home opener. We did not get a t-shirt. We didn't expect one, but still sad.
No t-shirt, but I did know that the organization has, for the last 3 years been pumping the best part of anything. The organization has now gone to explain to you and pump the horn from Old Man Wirtz's boat. It's going to be a big part of every procedure at every home game. We're going to hit the horn before we get started. I don't know who the fuck came up with that, but it's a big piece. That, and we're really into showing kids in hot dog suits.
Yeah. So first game, we play San Jose. We won, as we should, because Macklin Celebrini is out. Will Smith didn't play, and they really don't have a ton of other players. And we've got all of the juice of it's our home opener. It was very exciting to be back in my seat. Thought the game was good. I wish we could play San Jose all the time.
Yes, that is the running joke in our section now.
We play San Jose all the time. Or Edmonton.
No, Edmonton's got to be early in the season.
That's fair. That's fair. What were your thoughts from the first game?
They played well. They came out, they were aggressive. They at times came in waves. Everybody looked good. I can't really think of anybody who looked awful. Seth was
you know who doesn't look awful? Who looks pretty dang good. Is like one of the only people that's trying out there. Is that number 4, Seth Jones?
Yes, at least up until last night. So,
we'll
get into that at that game, but no, Seth played a really good game. It's just the competition was a heck of a lot less. It was one of the few games that we'll witness this year that they're expected to win.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the one problem with doing a show that's only once a week, we were both juiced after that game, and had we been able to talk about it, we would have been like, oh, hee hee, ha ha. But then, there's 2 other games.
79-3.
Exactly. So it's not a good barometer of where they're at. Again, I think it was really good for them to get a win on home ice. They do struggle at home too, as I alluded to.
Why do you think that is?
You try to do things a little cooler. You'd like to get the fans out of their seats, and this team isn't built for that yet. This is you're going to have to muck, grind, and play a little boring and play the right way in order to be in games. It's just the way it is. Yeah. So, but I think you have that thing where you might want that one other pass, to really give an ooh-ah goal.
Stop passing. That's the 3 games in a nutshell. Guys, stop passing. Just shoot. I hate being that person up in the 300 level that screams, shoot the puck. But for the love of God, stop doing the extra pass. I don't want to see it. It's not cool. And half the time we don't complete it because we have to work on passing. Shoot the puck. Don't pass it. Just shoot it.
Yeah. Again, it's still, they'll figure it out. So, the first game you had, Bertuzzi scoring, Hall scoring. So we got really cool about that second line a little bit. Which, then turned to crap. So,
yeah.
Again, at the end of the day, it was a team a lot less, and that was a goaltender that was a lot less.
Yeah. I'll definitely say my 3 stars were Seth Jones, Teuvo Teravainen, and Taylor Hall. Just because I'm not the biggest Taylor Hall fan. Not that I'm a big fan, not a big fan of him. I just think the media likes to believe that he is Taylor Hall from 5 years ago. and he's not. And sometimes our head coach thinks that he's the player from 5 years ago, and he's not. But I have really liked his performance on Thursday. And it's definitely better than I saw during preseason.
Yep. And so, anything else you want to talk about the San Jose game?
Nah, but I'm just too excited to get into the Vancouver game. But first, we have Buffalo. For Chicago versus Buffalo, we had Pat Maroon out and Joey Anderson out as well. You had Arvid Soderblom versus UPL in net. The first period was an absolute snooze fest. You would think with all of this veteran presence and veteran leadership, they would know that the game starts with the first shift. Stop taking a snoozer for the first 20 minutes and then, you're extra behind because you're already down 2-0. Game starts at 7. The game starts at 7, not 30 minutes into the game. Think with all of these players that have been in this league for so long that it shouldn't be just, Seth Jones and the kid who's on year 2 that are the only ones that recognize that, the game is 60 minutes.
Yeah.
That was my biggest.
That's just not this show. That's any show. The subject has been beaten to death at how and why things can't get going from the get-go. And, maybe at the end of the day, it is something just as simple as they're just not talented enough. I don't know.
I do wonder at what point. Oh, okay. So that was a struggle last year, and it seems like it's going to be a struggle going into this year. At what point can you determine, like, is it a talent thing or is it coaching?
I think we went over this a little bit last week. Number one, it's a talent thing. That's a fact. The fact is they're not very talented. That's just the way it is. Hey, I got a ton of respect for these guys that play. Absolutely. Smith with 2 goals in that game.
Yes.
But that's a fourth line player. So number one is the talent isn't there. And as we talked about also, will Luke be held accountable? Yes.
On this show, definitely.
Well, he's going to be held accountable anyways because Kyle Davidson learned from the guy before him that, hey, you get out in front of this stuff. So if the team is still miserable, well, then you have to say it's coaching because it can't be that, the guys that you brought in aren't going to get done. Again, so the coaching aspect will be later. We'll have and Luke ain't going anywhere this year.
No.
And there'll be plenty of time to figure out exactly what he's doing. I want to see more from him with home games matching up a little bit more. Tage Thompson with, his line got 2 of the goals. Well, the dick is supposed to be on them whenever they're on the ice. I don't see what the point is of having a shutdown third line if we're not going to have, if we're not putting against the other team's top pair. And you're at home, you should be able to dictate that a little bit.
Right.
But again, it's very early. Buffalo was a little bit of a reminder that there's no team that these guys should ever think, yeah, we should be able to do this one. Because besides San Jose, they're the second worst team in the league. That's the way it is. So, I think they thought that too. I think, we can just come in a little bit, and they have to be ready, but they have to play with an edge. And the other problem with the talent thing is that, let's face it, at the end of the day, it's a pretty slow team. The only person that I see with consistency up on the rush is number 4. And that's not good. That's not good when the fastest guy up the ice is my defenseman. So, we'll see how all that plays. The Buffalo game was, they had their chances a little bit. It was the big coming out party for Lucas Reichel.
That I wanted to get into him with my 3 stars. So proud
That's
of
what,
Lucas.
huh?
So proud of Lucas. I'm so proud of that line. I don't care that it's the 4th line. For me, I love when the 4th line does well because half the time nobody gives 2 craps about who's on the 4th line. And, it is a cause for concern that they're the ones that are scoring, but hey, they're scoring. Good for them. It was nice to silence the Lucas Reichel haters for a little bit, Krusty included. There was even they practiced today, and he has been promoted up to the 2nd line as of practice earlier today. So it should be interesting. Love that he's getting more time. Still very much convinced that Luke Richardson does not know what to do with him. And that's a Luke thing, not a Lucas thing. 3 stars for me personally. 3rd star goes to Arvid Soderblom because, yes, he did lose, but I still think that he did have a solid game. I think the points could have been – there could have been a major more difference of points if he was not in net. Also, with how slow everybody else was, the fact that he only let in that many, I'll take it. Number 2 goes to Seth Jones because it's Seth Jones and he's great and we love him on this show. And for the first 20 minutes, when everybody was taking a nap on the ice, he was the only one giving 2 shits. And number 1, the coming out party for Mr. Lucas Reichel. I love to see the kid do well. I love to see guys who consistently get hate in this city do well during games, win or lose.
Yeah. Again, we as we talked about it, again from Lucas, I'm like, okay, that's one game. I need a string. This is the NHL. I need a string together. I am completely on board with your thoughts that Luke doesn't know what to do with them. I mean, but these knee-jerk reactions after one game is frigging nuts. That's got Kirby Doc written all over it.
I was going to say this whole coach not knowing what to do with the player, very Kirby. Speaking of knee-jerk reactions, well, did you have anything else on Buffalo?
No, I'm just going to continue on Luke.
Speaking of knee-jerk reactions that make no sense, Philip Kurashev gets scratched for Vancouver. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. Didn't think it made sense. Didn't think he had the best game against Buffalo, but I could definitely rattle off a couple of players that looked significantly worse than he did versus Buffalo. And to come out to the media and, basically say that he, pretty much had a pretty bad game. First and foremost, why didn't you restrict the ice time? Why is he getting so much ice time during the Buffalo game if you are so unsatisfied with his performance? If you're trying to hold him so accountable, why is it's whiplash? Why are you giving all of us whiplash, him included, by, having him play so much on Saturday and then come Tuesday, oh, never mind, you played like shit on Saturday. Where is this coming from? Again, this is very Kirby Doc, and I don't like it.
Well, I take it we're done with Buffalo.
Yeah, that's why I asked if you had anything else on Buffalo.
Yeah, both. It was a huge head scratcher for the both of us. Has Kerr played the best? No, but I can go up and down that lineup. So why him? We talked off air a lot about that. He's basically somebody who might be a piece 3 years down the road. He is probably also the easiest one to punish, to where you might get the reaction from him that you think will be beneficial to him as opposed to somebody with a lot of years, that reaction might be to go, yeah, fuck it.
You know what
And
this
and
reminds
that
me of?
I don't know what it reminds you of, but I'm hoping you tell us all.
You know, like when you're at work and you've got
No,
coworkers.
no, I not.
No, okay. Well, when you worked many
Oh,
years ago,
those days, yeah, yeah.
and you've got coworkers that are kind of slacking off, not really doing their job, and so the manager decides to just punish everyone, and it really only affects the people that were trying, and the people who are slacking off really still don't give a shit, and so the punishment is pointless. This is what it seems like. He's punishing everybody by, scratching, having these knee jerk reactions on players that he thinks he can get a rise out of to, pretend and say I'm holding people accountable for things when the real problems are still on the ice and they still don't get the message.
Yeah, but they might not. This is about Kurashev,
Yeah.
and this is about pushing his buttons and seeing how he comes out of this, not how the team played without him. As a hockey coach, Q was unbelievable at it. I've heard from a lot of other different hockey coaches that say their job is to make the player feel uncomfortable. You want to push their buttons. You want to see how they react to it. So I get that portion of it. And now maybe I get a Kurashev, Friday night who's giving me a little bit extra, and then it works. You need to know who you can do that to and who you can't. Unfortunately, Luke is still very saddled with a bunch of people he can't do that to. And I know you're like, well, why then? Well, it's the team that he has right now. This is the problem with that in between building. Um, you know, these guys, you can't have a Tyler Bertuzzi shut you out for 4 years. You can't deal with that mess. So he's the last guy you're going to be wanting to do that. You
But
figure
he's
you might
not.
you figure you might get you might get a good reaction from Kurashev where he takes it and it fuels him. It fuels him to be a better player. He's had that kind of stuff most of his career, and anytime he's been questioned, he's come back. So, hey, if Kerr ends up playing better the next 10 games, I consider that not as terrible of a move as it looks right now. I still don't agree with it. I did hear people stating, well, you didn't want to restrict his ice time a little bit because you didn't want to mess up like with the other lines. And again, I kind of get that a little bit. You don't want to mess with that fourth line who scored you 2 goals. But as Lucas Reichel even said in his interview, they also gave up 2 goals. So they were just even. So it's not like you were messing up,
There's
God's
nothing to
gift.
mess up. We were losing.
Exactly. So, I mean, there would have been nothing to bring Craig Smith maybe up to the second line and demote Kurashev. Who knows? Give him a little less ice time. Except maybe the fourth line would have then scored their 3rd goal. You don't know. It's a delicate situation Luke is in. It's also the first button he's tried to push this year, and it really imploded. And again, there was you can't give up a goal in the first 12 seconds. You just can't. So, and that's the MO of this team. Somebody makes a mistake and it's compounded by another mistake, and next thing you know, it's in the back of the net. So, do you want to continue on with the game, or you want me to go, or how do you
Well,
want to do
I
this?
think this would be a great time to have a hockey lesson speaking of the Vancouver game, because we had some people that were in attendance, perhaps on the ice, that maybe misunderstand what some hockey rules are. So I am going to so graciously break it down. So,
Well, Hockey Princess has out the whiteboard. Oh, geez, this can't be good.
say we're going that way. This is the offensive zone area. We're going this way. You have the puck. Right here, right there, is the blue line. The puck needs to go first, and then your skates. If the puck goes out, then you need to come out. That's called tagging up. And then you can go back. That's what offsides is. I'm glad we learned that. Another one.
Do we want to get into this? Because the call, the way they explained it, was the right call.
Whatever, you like the refs. I don't.
He had the puck. The puck went out of the zone. Then he hit the puck back into the zone.
Yes.
Right? Then one of his skates hits part of the blue line before he touches the puck. That's the tag up. That's all he has to do.
Right?
It was it broken down completely. It's the right call. It looks like dog shit, but it is the right call. The puck then goes back into the zone. He does hit part of the blue line with his skate, if I am not mistaken. And that's all he has to do, as long as he does that before he touches the puck again. So it was a very, very wacky one.
All I saw was 1 foot on one side and 1 foot on the other, and does it.
Right, but all to tag up, all he has to do is hit part of his skate to the blue line, and then he's allowed to go back in.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's all a tag up is. And for a while, the NHL did not let you do tag up offsides. They went through a little period. Huh?
I'd like to go back to that time, but I would also like to just completely get rid of offsides. But that's
it's a completely gray area. I understood exactly.
It's a gray area, and my biggest issue now is we have all of these different angles and all of these videos, and we have the big brother that is Toronto. But this shit shouldn't take 10 minutes to decide.
Oh, that is something for a completely different show that I'm 100% with you. But basically, then after a minute or a minute and a half, if you can't decide that the team challenging has the right thing, then you have to say it was a goal because it was called a goal on the ice. But it's my understanding is there's 2 guys in Toronto walking the linesman through everything, and they went over and over it again. Listen, I understand how that might be fine, and hey, somebody at home can go get a snack, a pop, a beer, go get some chips. Hey, maybe even go take a dump. But if I'm at the frigging game, it friggin' blows. Because I'm sitting there for 10 minutes, not getting any explanation what's going on. You've got to go to Twitter so we can basically find out that it's being challenged for an offsides, which the refs don't tell us. So you're paying public for that game, has no idea what's going on, and you have killed the atmosphere in that building. That's what I hate about instant replay to begin with. It is a life sucker for those who are at the game. I understand that you don't care a shit ton about them because it's more about the TV dollars. So if you ever want to talk about that one more, Hockey Princess, I'm in.
We can talk about that in February when we have no hockey to talk about.
But I did read up a good amount about the offsides, and that was the big explanation I got. but yeah, they had two guys in Toronto going through frame by frame, blah, blah, blah. But it was my understanding also that the two guys in Toronto then basically made the call. And I thought that wasn't, then why do these guys need a little iPad? If you're going to go back to Toronto and make the call, then go back to Toronto and make the call. Why are you hand holding the linesman in their ear? I don't get that part of it whatsoever. Then just, hey, take it out of their little iPad and say you're going to go back to Toronto and they're going to make the decision. It's the NHL in a complete nutshell. Now I've ranted way too much about this. So go on to your next one, Hockey Princess.
We have our next lesson called "How many players does a team get to have on the ice at one time?" We've broken this down in many a TikTok video, many an Instagram video, and we've talked about this on the show. So we have 3 forwards. 1, 2, 3. 3. Defensemen. We have 1, 2, 5. 1 goaltender. 6. You can have 5 people that are not the goaltender on the ice at one time. You can add a person. You pull your goaltender. Then it can look like this. But most of the time, it looks like this. 5 guys on the ice. Toronto, not 7, 5. Glad we learned how many players a team gets to have. Because it seemed like there were some people that were there that really either they can't count or they just missed that rule in the rule book.
Yeah, and that was another rough one for being there because Mrazek went nuts. And then Foligno was going nuts, and we didn't know why, but
Taylor Hall was fully waving his stick on the bench, and I'm like, what happened? The way that they reacted, you would think that you missed some big hit or some sort of physical aspect, because the only time I've seen him get that mad is for stuff like that.
That's what I had thought also, but, they had too many men on the ice, and not one too many. They had too many. So they had 7 skaters and a goaltender.
That's a lot.
Crusty old guy is one that, yes, I do say, hey, I like the refs. I like them being part of the game, sometimes making a mistake and not making a mistake. That is pathetic.
Well,
that is completely pathetic. Now, see, this is where everything becomes gray in the NHL, because I've been told by the NHL the reason we have this review is so we get it right. Well, then how come that's not reviewable? Got 7 guys on the ice. That should be reviewed. You can nitpick this shit all the time. I'd like to see it all go away. You sit there after every goal and you make sure it's a good goal or a bad goal. After that, just whatever the call is on the ice, let it go. I've never seen a 7-game series decided on 1 offsides. Yeah, maybe 1 goal was it wasn't the whole series though.
Right.
So but that one was pathetic. And breaking down this game as I did more today, which is also pathetic.
What happens when you're retired?
No, I was doing it even before I was retired.
Okay, I was trying to give you credit.
That's just you just some people might call it not a life. I don't know. But basically, you look at there's Vancouver's second goal, a pinball wizard that went right through the pickle.
Off of Kaiser's stick?
No, that went right through the pickle when Pickle was trying to screen out the other guy and went in. And then your third goal was the 7 guys on the ice. You take those 2 away, this might be a whole different ball game. It's possible. So looking back on it, at times I didn't think it was as ugly. it could have, we did not get the breaks in this game either. And that's a really good team. But also, everybody's got to be able to play a little tougher. That's for sure.
So a little bit more info for the Vancouver game. Like we said, Kurashev was out. Once again, the same issue as the Buffalo game. Very, very slow start. Found ourselves down by 2 way too quickly. I thought Tavo played well. Not great, but listen, no one played great.
That's the thing that needs to be prefaced. Nobody gets a passing grade on this thing.
And in reverse, nobody gets to be singled out for saying they had a shit game. Because guess what? The entire roster played like shit. So you don't get to go on Twitter and then just say that Seth Jones played like shit. Guess what? So did everyone. There was not a person that had a good game. We had Peter Mrazek versus former Chicago Blackhawk Kevin Lankinen. I would also like to take this time to remind people, and I think Kevin is a great example, that sometimes players take a while to develop, then they get really good. Because when Kevin was here, I was his only defender. Everybody wanted to run that poor goalie that was rushed by Blackhawk management out of town. And now he's in Vancouver and he's great. Not everyone is going to progress at a rapid rate and be a superstar immediately. Sometimes other people take time and they do very well. And Kevin is a great example because Kevin played so much better than when he was here as a Blackhawk. And I love that for him. Even though he was the other goaltender, I still like Kevin. Let's see. My big note might be half of my notes are just this person gets to play, but Kurashev doesn't. This person gets to play, but Kurashev doesn't. I was still just very bitter during the game.
Well, I'll pile on with that one because that was my other big problem. Kurashev gets scratched. Well, who took Kurashev's place? Double A. What the heck has Double A done that all of a sudden deserved a promotion to be second line center? I don't get it.
And I think that's my biggest issue. You talk about how Luke scratched Kurashev with the vision, right? With the notion that Kurashev's going to come back better. I understand that logic, but then on the flip side, you are creating a hole by taking Kurashev out of the game. Because he's certainly not the most skilled forward on the roster, but taking him out definitely, you notice a gap.
Oh, hold on. Yes, my woman. Oh, it's my dog. Hello, Rutu, the wonder dog.
For me, it just didn't make sense because the gap did not outweigh the trying to, but who knows? It may come next game if we see that Kurashev's game has improved. But sitting in the Vancouver game, I was just like, you notice that he's not there.
Well, there's a lot of that. There's also the whole thing of, okay, well, if Kurashev's out, why isn't your third line center promoted to the second line?
Yeah.
I'm starting to get a little tired that Luke is just going to play the dick with certain people that play a certain way. Is that all that guy can do?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But he's been sheltered by certain types of play and players all of last year and again all of this year. You want to sit Kurashev? Then the dick should be your second line center.
Yeah.
So what did you do? You took this whole thing. Double A. Yeah, it's going to happen this time. Now, you did it last year. You did it the years before. It's never worked out. They call that insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Okay, we can't have that. Enough of the insanity. there was no reason for him to get the promotion. I would have been okay with it. Why not just have the Dick come up and play second line center?
Yeah.
I think it might have worked out better.
Yeah.
So that's what. Continue on with your talk, but I had a rant.
I definitely, Reichel didn't look great, but everyone played bad. I know that's the preface. However, I've definitely seen that kid play a lot worse. And I am excited if he truly is getting second line ice time. I'm excited to just see how it works out. One more thing before I jump back to you. I know this isn't the flashiest comment, but nobody's making the comment, so I'm going to make the comment. He hasn't been, oh my God, amaze me, but he also isn't drowning in his position. I've really liked the way that Allen's played the first couple of games. He wasn't perfect by any means, and I know he did get the scratch after, I forgot what game it was, but I'm really impressed with the ability to hold his own, with this being his first real opportunity in the NHL. I know nobody's talking about it. And it wasn't great, but I like what I'm seeing. I'm proud of the kid.
Yeah, I thought he's looked okay at times. He's had some rough, nothing
But
major.
everybody's had some rough, and he's played with a lot of different guys. Luke's definitely not having like consistent defensive pairings, probably because it's all bad. And it hasn't been awful, but I definitely thought it was going to be a lot worse.
Yeah, he's done okay. I've got an issue with the other defenseman, at least yesterday's game. I'll get into that in a second. I'm still stuck on this Luke Richardson thing, though, so I'm going to continue.
Go for it.
I don't understand. The Buffalo game was the best Lucas Reichel has looked in a while, correct?
Yeah.
And where did Lucas Reichel play?
Fourth line.
Fourth line again, right?
Yeah.
And then midway through, he got moved in up to the second line.
Yeah.
I'd like to know why.
Because let's just try things. Because it's all bad. Let's get weird.
How about giving these guys some consistency?
Oh, I am all for consistency. I think the way that Luke is jerking everybody around is a joke.
That's my problem.
Thinking of his mentality of
if you like the way the fourth line is played, then give the fourth line the second line minutes, and give your second line the fourth line minutes. Let them play 12 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Why not? But to keep on moving this kid around is silly. Now I'll get back to my other player, and that was Wyatt Kaiser, who, this is a good thing. But last night was the first time I saw him overwhelmed. He just at times looked overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And then still came back and did a couple really nice things in the third period. But that was the first time I've seen for him. He had stretches. The game's a little too physical. He's not quite fast enough, even though he's fast. I'm curious to see how this continues to play out.
Yeah.
As much as I haven't been a huge fan of his, I'm hoping that he becomes a perfect third pairing guy who can do multiple things for you. But it's what I came away from those first two periods. It's just when he struggles, it really shows that he struggles. And when he shines, he gives you an ooh moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to want that in a defenseman as to somebody who's like, didn't know he was even there. I kind of like that a little bit more. So at no point am I saying Luke's doing something wrong by playing him or anything. I've got no problem still continuing to play him. There might be something there. So I'm all for it. More of an observation that I saw in the game than to say this is a problem. I don't think it's a problem.
And I think definitely the time last year in Rockford helped him. I think he just needs more consistency.
Exactly. He needs to understand the NHL game more, a little bit stronger on his skates, which is something he can work on, which is
Absolutely.
something that can come. So,
Real quick. Well, not real quick because nothing talking about this player is real quick. Do you have any thoughts and feelings about your boy getting taken off the first power play unit?
I do not. I don't think the pickle looked very good taking his minutes. And then Seth came back and played on the power play for the 5-on-3. Listen, anybody who listens to this show knows I'm a Seth defender.
We love Seth.
But Seth played like dog shit last night. Okay. And listen, from my defenseman, I don't mind the one or two brain farts. I just feel the position is that hard where it is going to happen to just about everybody.
Right.
But Seth had a ton of them. Now, if you want to give him a shot across the bow and yank him, I didn't. I had less of an issue with it than I did right then during the game.
Right.
But Pickle's not really ready for that either. And then you worry about his confidence thrusting him into that position.
And I think it's not like a warning sign. I think it's completely fine if he's not ready for that. I think that position that Seth is in, especially on this team with the lack of talent, that takes a certain type of defenseman that you just gain those skills with time and with being in the NHL. I mean, yes, he is one of the younger kids on the lineup. He's in a weird position where he's like the oldest of the younger kids, but is one of the younger kids in terms of like the veterans. So like it's going to take time for him. It's
Right.
fine if he's not in that or not comfortable with all of that yet.
Right, but he's not used to quarterbacking the power play.
Right.
He's not used to advancing the puck into the zone on the power play. I just think at times it just does more harm than good. Just leave Seth out there to continue to play shitty. If there's anybody you can dump on this team, it's him. He gets it all the time. So I understand why he did it. You want to give him a look, but I then worry about they did the same thing with Core last year. And then when Core got promoted, Core looked awful.
Right.
And I think you're scared, you're nervous. We've talked about this a little bit more. I want to see an even split from that power play unit.
Right.
Each of them play a minute, and you can then give the pickle some time with the second unit. Again, is it probably an okay thing to be trying that in a game that you're getting the shit kicked out of you? Yeah, it's probably not the end of the world.
Probably the time to try it.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, I didn't have a problem with it. Just be gentle with the pickle. I'm not worried about Seth Jones getting demoted or Seth Jones's attitude.
Right.
But I worry about the comfort level for the pickle. That's my concern.
Got anything else from the Vancouver game? There were a lot of thoughts and feelings, friends. We had a lot of anger.
Well, it was the first game where you were transported back to last year, where it was just pretty gosh darn yucky. Even the Dick had a great play on their first goal, but also, took a lazy ass penalty to give Vancouver a power play goal. So, that the leadership core can't be doing that. Nick Foligno has to find out a way, no matter what, to make sure nobody scores on them 12 seconds into a game.
Yeah.
That's on him.
Yep.
The Dick has to be held to a higher standard also. So, no, that's about all I got. You had one little rant you wanted to go on. You still want to go on that?
Which rant?
Your Beacon of Hope rant?
Oh, yes. Slightly. I really just cared about my hockey lesson. Slightly. It seems that we've woken up today and decided to just shit on the Beacon of Hope. What the hell, hockey Twitter? This is the Beacon of Hope. This is Connor Bedard. you hear a lot of people complaining about how he's not scoring and he has all of these shooting opportunities and he's not putting the puck in the net. It will come. I promise you. And also, for the love of God, stop constantly comparing him to McDavid, to Matthews, and to Kane. The four of them are all great, but even all four of them are very different types of players. And also, when Kane first came to this team, it was a very different setup. He came with another very talented friend to bounce off of, and a lot of guys who had already been in Rockford growing together. It was still bad, but there was significantly more potential already here to help the two of them. Connor is nothing.
Exactly. And you got to remember the two kids had somebody to shoulder the offensive output. That was your Martin Havlat. Havlat was already here playing like Jesus.
Exactly.
So as far as the comparisons to McDavid or McKinnon, yes, those are all valid. This kid will never skate like the two of them. I can tell you that right now. He will dictate games in a different way, not the way they do. They are a step above him because they have world-class ass speed. And that's a difference maker. If you want to talk about Matthews, yeah. Once he gets better around the net, the kid is still just, how old is he now? 19?
Right.
He's getting the shit kicked out of him in front of the net. That will come. That will come.
We don't, and I know we all sound like a broken record saying it will come with time. We were very lucky when Taves and Kane came. This one is going to take significantly longer. So let's not shit on the 19-year-old. He's doing his gosh darn best, even with these shitty games. Has he made a couple of mistakes? Sure, everyone's going to. You're getting the shit kicked out of you. But the kid's still doing his best, and he's still a hell of a hockey player. It will come. It just isn't coming as quickly as everyone will.
Yeah, and it's a tall ask to have the whole team on your shoulder.
Yeah.
At that young. And as you pointed out, Kane and Taves did not have that. They were able to kind of just go about their business and be really good. Right. He stuck with everything, and he's still trying to figure out the league. So,
hey, let's just be nice.
Let's be nice. Yes, we're the show of love.
Let's be nice. You have any other thoughts, feelings?
I don't think so. It was nice to meet a fan of the show.
Yeah, guys, we got to meet a fan.
So that was neat. We'll leave that for another time, but you can wrap us up, take us home. We've been here way too long.
That was absolutely awesome. Yeah, just as a reminder, please wait for the whistle. Do not get up all the pucks in play. Please, please, please. If you hear anyone in section 330 saying pucks in play or wait for the whistle, it's us. Make sure to tell your friends, tell everyone, tune into Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, however you watch or listen to us ramble on a weekly basis. And we will talk at you guys next week.